What's up everyone, I'm Alex and welcome back to another episode of the Filmmaking and Cinematography Podcast. And today we're diving into an aspect of filmmaking that's often underestimated, but absolutely crucial to creating an immersive experience, the power of sound as a storyteller in film. So whether you're a director, cinematographer, sound designer, or just someone passionate about film, understanding how audio can shape and enhance your narrative is key to mastering the art of filmmaking. So let's jump right in. When we talk about storytelling in film, the first thing that usually comes in mind are visuals. The camera work, the lighting, the composition, and so on. But what if I told you that the sounds you are hearing are just as important, if not more, in creating compelling narrative? Sound has a unique ability to evoke emotion, build tension, and guide the audience attention, all while remaining almost invisible. We can even call it the unsung hero of cinema, that when used effectively can turn a good film into a great one, into a true masterpiece. So let's get started by talking about the basic elements of sound in film. There are three main categories: dialogue, sound effects, and music. Each of these components plays a distinct role in storytelling, and mastering them can significantly elevate the quality of your film. First up is dialogue. Dialogue is the most direct way characters communicate with each other and the audience. It carries the plot forward and reveals character motivations, emotions, and relationships. But dialogues isn't just about the words being spoken, it's also about how they are delivered. The tone, pace, and volume of speech can completely change the meaning of a scene. For instance, just imagine a whisper of some ghost in a horror movie, or a shout in a very powerful moment of the character. This can all tell a story, but it depends also on the genre. Next, we have sound effects. Sound effects can range from some subtle, like creaking of a floorboard, to more dramatic, like an explosion. They serve as an auditory cues that enhance the realism of a scene and help immerse the audience in the story world. But more than just creating a realistic environment, sound effects can be used creatively to add a layer of meaning to a scene. My favorite example for this one is just the ticking of a clock in some empty and silent room, or just the ticking of the clock overall. It shows the passing of time, and if the timing or time is a key aspect in your story, then you're good to go to use this sound effect just in any scene. Finally, let's talk about music. Music in film isn't just background noise, it's an emotional guide that directs the audience's feelings and reactions. A well-composed score can make the difference between a scene that feels flat and one that is deeply moving. Music can underscore a film's themes, highlighting key moments, and even serve as a character in its own development. Just think of the immersive music used in the Oppenheimer movie, or in the Severance series on Apple TV+. Those are just some amazing pieces of art that really convey the story told in the movie. Now that we covered the basics, let's dive deeper into how sound can be used as a storytelling tool. One of the most powerful ways sound can enhance the narrative is through the use of diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Now, we're not talking about food, but diegetic sound is any sound that originates from within the story world itself, like dialogue between characters, the sound of a car engine, or a song playing on a character's radio. Non-diegetic sound, on the other hand, come from outside the story world, like the film score or a narrator's voice. Diegetic and non-diegetic sounds can be used together in interesting ways to create contrast, emphasize certain story elements, or even mislead the audience. For instance, imagine a scene where a character is in a dangerous situation. You might hear upbeat, non-diegetic music that contrasts with the tense, diegetic sounds of heavy breathing and footsteps. This contrast can create a sense of irony or foreshadow an unexpected twist. A great example for this one is from my latest feature film, where we have the main narrator, which is a non-diegetic sound that comes from outside the story world, combining with the really calm music, but in contrast and, let's say, in conflict with the character's powerful emotions that are shown to the visual storytelling through handheld movement. But we still have calm music and a calm narrator. So this is a great example of misleading the audience, waiting for something completely different. Another important concept in sound design is audio perspective. Just as a camera can change its perspective to show different angles of a scene, sound can be manipulated to reflect the point of view of different characters. For example, if you want to convey a character's disorientation after a powerful explosion, you might model the sound in the scene or add a high-pitched ringing noise, simulating the character's hearing impairment. This not only helps the audience emphasize with the characters, but also creates a more immersive and realistic experience. Now let's talk about Foley, my absolute favorite technique in filmmaking. The art of creating sound effects that sync with on-screen action. We can call the Foley artists the unsung heroes of sound design. Meticulously crafting and recording sound that enhance the realism of a film, from the switch of clothing to the clicking of glasses. Every little sound you hear in a movie has likely been carefully constructed in a Foley studio. But Foley isn't just about realism, it's also about storytelling. The sound of a character's footsteps can tell us if they're walking with confidence, sneaking around, or dragging their feet in exhaustion. Foley adds texture and depth to the auditory landscape in a film. Another very cool aspect of Foley is that it makes your movie absolutely unique, because nobody has used that sound before, and also you have the ability to use whatever sounds you want, because you can actually record them with the objects that are being shot. For example, you don't just use random shoes on a random surface. You can, if you're shooting some movie with people walking, then you can just take their shoes on that surface, and it makes your movie unique. It also makes it far more natural. Another fascinating aspect of sound design is the use of motifs. Just as visual motifs, like a recurring color or symbol, can add layers of meaning to a film, audio muffins can do the same. A motif is a recurring sound or piece of music associated with a particular character, setting, or idea. A great example I can tell you from the movie Oppenheimer, where specific sounds are recurring again and again when the young Oppenheimer is at the university. So overall, audio motifs help to reinforce themes and can create a strong emotional connection with the audience. Let's not forget the role of silence in sound design. Yeah, it sounds pretty easy, just don't put any sound in there. But silence, or the deliberate absence of sound, can be incredibly powerful. It can create tension, emphasize a moment, or force the audience to focus on a particular visual or emotion. For example, the use of silence in a horror film can make the sudden appearance of a monster or jump scare all the more terrifying. Silence can also be used to convey a character's isolation or internal struggle, giving the audience space to reflect on what they're seeing. Now I want to touch on the importance of soundscapes in film. A soundscape is the overall sonic environment of a scene, created by layering different sounds, like ambient noise, sound effects and music, to build a rich, immersive audio experience. The soundscape of a busy city street, for example, might include honking cars, distant sirens, footsteps, snipping of conversations, and the hum of traffic. Each of these elements contribute to the atmosphere of the scene and help to transport the audience into the film's world. Creating an effective soundscape requires careful attention to detail and deep understanding of how sound interacts with visuals. A well-crafted soundscape can make a fictional world feel real and lived in, while a poorly executed can pull off the audience out of the story. It's also about finding the right balance and making sure that every sound serves the narrative. To wrap things up, let's discuss some practical tips for filmmakers who want to harness the power of sound in their projects. First and foremost, start thinking about sound early in the filmmaking process. Don't treat it as an afterthought. Consider how sound can enhance your storytelling while you're writing the script and planning your shots. Work closely with your sound designer or just with some library from the beginning to ensure that the audio elements are fully integrated into the narrative. A great thing to keep in mind is that sound is half of the viewing experience. So secondly, invest in good sound recording equipment. Clear, high-quality audio is essential, especially when it comes to dialogue. Poor sound quality can distract from the story and make your film feel amateurish, no matter how good your visuals are. If you're on a tight budget, prioritize a good microphone and sound recorder. This will make a bigger difference than an expensive camera or lens. This was also a big mistake that I've done in the past. I neglected the sound and also of dialogues, and this was really easy to be seen in the final product. Now what I'm often doing, besides recording the dialogue on the set, for some more important scenes, I'm also coming back with the actors and recording the full environment in the full dialogue back into the studio. So back when we are on the films that we are using some shotgun mics or some very small lavaliers depending on the set, but then we're coming back in the studio and as we are recording back on the production just with some DJI mics, for example. Then here we're recording with professional level Shure SM7Bs to get the best quality ever. And finally, don't be afraid to experiment. Sound is versatile and powerful tool that can be used in many creative ways. Try different techniques, play with diegetic and non-diegetic sound, and explore the emotional impact of different audio choices. The more you experiment, the better you'll understand how sound can be used to tell your story. So that's all for today's episode of the Filmmaking and Cinematography Podcast. I hope that this deep dive into the power of sound in film has given you new insights and ideas for your projects. Remember, sound isn't just something you add in post-production, it's an integral part of your storytelling kit. So thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, keep experimenting and stay creative.